Hi, Dr. Pelè. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Katie. Appreciate it.
Such a pleasure. We had the privilege to speak a few weeks ago on your podcast, Profitable Happiness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was
So,
lots of fun.
and it's great to be doing a podcast swap where this time you get to join this show. Talking about your podcast, I really love the title, Profitable Happiness. I'm wondering how you came up with this concept and how you're putting two things that most people don't think belong together, which is the money and the joy. And people tend to separate them. Unfortunately, people who don't have the privilege to have their own business tend to think of money as one end and joy as another end.
Well, this was my little attempt to try to be as good as Focus B, okay? Your title does the same thing, Focus B. Um, People don't usually put those two together, but they actually work together beautifully. Katie, thank you so much for that question because it really takes me way back to my childhood. I was born in the middle of a civil war back in Africa in the 1960s. The Nigerian government was fighting against the Biafran government, and millions of children like myself were caught in the middle of it. There was hunger every day, there was dying, there were bombs falling everywhere. We were literally afraid to move from refugee camp to refugee camp. In all of that hunger and fear and pain, my mother did the most amazing thing. She did something I would never expect she could do or she would do. What she did was, when she had no food to feed us, to feed me, she would simply sing to me and she would tell stories. And in these stories, she would take my name and she would put my name in the stories, put my name in the songs. And the most amazing thing would happen to me. I would be happy. That happiness then turned around and chased away my fear of dying, chased away the hunger. Physically, the happiness made things better until we could find the next place to eat food or to sleep safely and so on and so forth. And that was when I learned my life's first lesson, really, which is this: happiness comes before success. So many people chase after success. Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about you got to get that foundation and you got to build all the financial and all this stuff before you can get to the self-actualization and success and happiness at the top. And so many people actually misunderstood Maslow's. He wasn't really saying that, but that's his triangle looks like that. And I've actually turned that triangle upside down. So you start with happiness, start with the things that make you whole, that fulfill you. And believe it or not, your happiness will lead to your profit. And that's how I came up with the name Profitable Happiness, because that's the life I seek to live. To me, that is the entrepreneurial journey, is a journey of finding something that truly is meaningful to you and helps others at the same time. Happiness and profit.
That is so beautiful. I'm left without words, which isn't a good place to be as a person doing the interview. So absorbed by your story. It's not the sort of thing you expect when you ask people how they came up with for their title for the podcast. But I'd like to come back to the last point you mentioned around serving, which is linked to what you also said offline when we were speaking before we recorded, the difference between serving and selling and how we should go about this, because this is directly linked to profit. So could you tell us a bit more in depth what you feel is the best way to go about it?
Yes. Now, I have to tell you, I'm a little bit of what you call an OG, meaning been there, done that for quite a while. And I have experienced personally the difficulty between shifting from a selling mindset to a serving mindset. And I've also been fortunate to have made that shift and have seen the difference and have been able to create hundreds and thousands of successful people that have been my clients, and they've made millions of dollars because of that shift. Now, that shift is a very simple one. When you wake up in the morning, you're thinking, okay, I got to build my business. I got to be successful. I got to do this and that. What most of us think of is, I got to sell something. Somebody's got to buy something, okay? Now, here's what happens. You start selling, you start pitching, buy this, buy that, and people run away. Why? Because people are afraid of sales. They do not like being sold to. In fact, there's a lot of research that shows that if you try to sell something right now, only 3% of the people that you meet will be ready to buy something from you right now. There's going to be 67% more who may buy from you if only you would wait for a little bit and give them service and help them and talk to them. Then there's another 30% that may never buy from you. Okay, that's normal. And so what we have to do is recognize that human beings first want your help. They first want to get to know you before they get married to you. They're not interested in marriage on a first date. And so what we need to do is shift from always selling, because we're only selling to 3% anyway, and start focusing on serving the 67% of people who, if only they knew the value that you brought, if only they knew how helpful you were, after a few opportunities to interact with you, they'll be ready to be sold something. And at that point, it'll be a positive and beautiful relationship between you and your buyers. So I've learned, and it is one of the most important lessons I've learned, that the best thing you can do is share helpful content on social media or wherever you interact with your customers. Just help them. If you help them, they will know that you can help them, and they'll be back for the money that you are looking for. But don't ask for the money first.
I feel this is very related to abundance mindset compared to sort of struggling scarcity mindset. Because if you're in a scarcity mindset, you feel everything is limited, and then you have more this urge to sell. Whereas if you have this abundance mindset, you feel you can just serve and then it'll come in. Do you feel that this is also directly correlated?
I would agree with you 100%, but it's a mindset that has to be cultivated. It's not natural for us to feel abundance. Abundance is not a natural thing. I can tell you, even from my earlier story, I still eat. There's a certain food we ate back in the war. It's called gari, right? It's like it's put a little it's wheat or different flour, and you make it into these big balls. And back then we would throw the ball up in the air, catch it, and then dip it inside some sauce and then eat it. And we loved it so much. And till today, 50 years later, I have to eat that food because it takes me back to the emotions I felt back then. So we are not creatures that know how to get rid of our habits very easily. And one of those things is we wake up in life looking for more. Where is everything? I want. And so the abundance mindset is not something we have. We have to fight internally to build it. We have to tell ourselves every day, hey, I am enough. The world is enough. Okay. If I just show up and serve people, I will create success. I don't need to be selling all the time. I can help people first.
Is it through these types of affirmations that you've worked on building your abundance mindset, or are there other specific practices that you've used to build this abundance mindset?
Well, for me, I still can't claim I have an abundance mindset. I pretend every single day. I wake up and I'm like, I need this. Oh, stop. Oops. Hi, everyone. I'm here to help you. You have to physically act it out to become it. It's kind of like happiness. A lot of people say, oh, I don't feel happy today. I'm not, everything's wrong. Stop it. You can't wait to feel happy. You can't wait till you got the Lamborghini parked in the back or you got the big house on the hill to be happy. You have to act happy. You have to put on actions and wear the robe of happiness and smile and do all the things that look like happiness. And believe it or not, all of a sudden, you become happy. It works the other way around. Your actions precede your feelings. And so with abundance mindset, with anything in business, wake up and take action first. And believe it or not, all the feelings start to show up. It's like, what's that other feeling I hear a lot about on social media? Imposter syndrome. Everybody's talking about that these days. Oh, I don't feel like I'm really who I say I am, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, you should feel that. If you feel imposter syndrome, that's a good thing because it shows you're normal and it shows that you're about to try to conquer a big problem. that is important in the world. So you should be afraid. You should feel the fear and the imposter syndrome, but guess what? Shake it off. Shake it off and just show up and give it up. And if you do, the world will respond. And all of a sudden you'll be like, wait a second, I am this thing that I say I am, because I've been helping a lot of people. It's true. It's real. That's how it works.
It's again the acting out first, and then you realize afterwards that you're actually the person that you say you are, doing the thing that you say you're doing. Yes, it's wonderful, this concept of acting first how you want to feel, both with the happiness, but also with what you mentioned right at the very beginning, which is that happiness comes before success. It's the same, starting with the singing and then success or happiness followed. Talking of which, singing, I know you're really into music. You have a guitar on your t-shirt. How do you associate both aspects in your business, the marketing side and the music side, as part of your entrepreneur journey?
What a great question, Katie. You know, what's interesting about music and storytelling and writing books, like we all do. I know you've got a book coming up. I've just finished my book, Social Velocity. All of these things fall under what I call, basically what anyone would call, content. Music is content, books are content, speaking is content, and the power and magic of content is that it is a story being shared. You see, story has magical qualities. You know, if I go back to, you know, when my mother would tell me stories and sing me songs, what she was doing was basically transporting me from the war zone to a happy zone. You know, if you have kids and you've got your kids in the back and you're driving, you're on a road trip, and the kids are going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? When are we there yet? Are we there yet? You know, one thing you can do to get their minds off of that? Tell them a story, sing them a song, involve them in games, and it creates a diversion. It creates a diversion of their attention to something positive and powerful, okay? And that is the role of content marketing. That is the role of content marketing, is to help your ideal audience forget about their fear of sales. Forget that you're there to sell them things, and instead fall in love with the story that you're sharing. Feel helped by you. All of those things that we do, those are diversionary, indirect strategies to move the conversation away from sales. And so for me, everyone has this. Find the thing that makes you happy. Use it as part of your diversionary strategy. Use it as part of your storytelling. Use it as part of your content marketing. It will be unique because nobody else is going to be quite like you, and it will be powerful, educational, and entertaining to your audience. So for me, music is one of the ways in which I'm different. There can be no other Dr. Pelè, ever. That's me. That's what I do. I got the guitar, I got the PhD, and I'm here to smile and talk about happiness. Who does that? I'm crazy, right? That's why people tune in. Content. Believe it or not, that's not what I sell. I sell courses. I sell coaching. I'm a one-on-one mentor. I have a software product that I sell. Those aren't the things I talk about. I talk about joy. I talk about happiness in business. I talk about if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see me playing songs, music. And believe it or not, the music, people watch that and they go, wow, this is a human being, because I've humanized myself away from sales.
Smart. Smart. I think the real connection, because the problem is when people are only selling in their posts and being too professional, and I know I've been guilty of that in the past. I found it hard in the past to share anything personal, especially on LinkedIn. But the less people do that, the more you come across as sort of robotic. All you talk about is business and business solutions. And my field is quite humanized anyway, so it helps. But I'm thinking of other content that I've read online where it just comes across as very mechanical. So when you do things such as songs, and you also have the professional portfolio, people put two and two together and suddenly it's more appealing. People buy, you know, human beings, they don't buy actual products. because they can have what you're offering from a million other people, but they will choose you because they connect with you. Could you tell us a bit more about your book? Because we could see it here in the background for those of you who are watching the video. You also have a physical copy. Feel free to show it on the screen. Amazing. So tell us like the main concept behind social velocity.
You know, Katie, thank you for that. So the book is titled Social Velocity, Why Going Fast Won't Get You Far. And I have the honor and privilege of having it being reviewed by Seth Godin, who is the author of This is Marketing. And basically he says this insightful and practical book is about far more than LinkedIn. Dr. Pelè shows you just how much outbound marketing has changed and helps you find your footing in a brand new world of ideas. So basically, this book was my attempt to tell the story of how content marketing can be a powerful new engine for creating clients. Content creates clients. A lot of people are, basically, confused by social media. There's too much noise happening everywhere. Do I advertise? Do I send a post? What do I do to get my ideal clients to actually start coming toward me? And the funny thing is that the most powerful thing you can do, again, serve, don't sell. Share helpful content, and that content will create the clients that you're looking for. And so I looked for an analogy that could help me explain this. And believe it or not, it's a very simple one from physics. In physics, we have the concept of speed, and we also have the concept of velocity. And there's an interesting difference between them, right? When you talk about speed, you can actually be going very fast, but standing in one location, like on a treadmill. So like this is very fast, but I'm just in a treadmill or a hamster wheel, okay? And I'm going nowhere. That is actually speed. But when we're in a car and we're going fast in a specific direction, that's velocity. And it's that difference, the change in location, the moving in a specific direction, that's velocity. And so I use that analogy to help people understand that when you keep sending these direct messages and you keep selling to people all the time, and you're a hustler. You're not helping anyone. You're hustling people. So that's just speed, right? But if you slow down and get off the hamster wheel and start thinking, how can I move my customers closer to me? That movement, that direction of getting closer to customers and being more helpful to customers, that's velocity. And that's much more powerful. And so in this book, I teach social velocity, because velocity is really, it has a bunch of strategies like content marketing, like being helpful, like funnels that are about, how much am I helping people versus how much am I tricking them to come closer to me? So all of those things are inside this book. I'm so proud of this book. It's everything I know. But it's the 3 principles for getting high value clients with content marketing on LinkedIn. And those principles are 3 things. One is building relationships through your content. The second one is getting better reach, further reach, making your content go further. And the third one is using analytics, using results to see exactly how you're doing so you can do better and then convert people into customers. So those are the 3 R's of social velocity.
Fantastic. And how amazing to have Seth Godin actually recommend your book and leave a review, right? The sort of king of marketing that you also interviewed on your podcast. If that isn't proof, I don't know what is.
No, thank you. And by the way, what's interesting about Seth Godin's review for me is that in this book, I make a very powerful point for the world that involves him. I say, in the beginning, there was interruption marketing. That's what all his books are about, the shift from interruption marketing to permission marketing, which is what most people practice today. But there's a problem now with permission marketing. It basically is dead. It has been crowded. Everybody is becoming a hustler with permission marketing. And what we have to do is find a new kind of marketing that goes beyond getting your opt-in permission and then spamming people with email, or connecting with people and then spamming them with direct messages. That's permission marketing today, and it's too much. We need social velocity, which is about moving customers closer to you through helpful content. So I'm actually saying that I'm building on what Seth has done to get to a new thing called social velocity.
Wonderful. And it's interesting because when we look at these three stages of marketing, it feels to me like in each one, it's more and more subtle. The first, interruption marketing, was just direct. It would be cold calling. You're just directly calling them. The second one is a little more subtle. First, let me have your permission, and then we can get on the call, and then I'll spam you.
Exactly, yeah.
And now it's even more subtle. Let me just share some content on a platform. You get inspired, and eventually I write a bit to you, you write a bit to me, and it's more organic. And I feel it's because sales is so pushy and people feel that it's so pushy that the most effective way is essentially what you're saying. It's when it's more organic, and it's also then the best fit for both the client and the person in question. Because when it's done more organically, then it just has to be a good fit. But when it's done in a forceful way, then sometimes it's not an ideal partnership. So it actually works best for all parties involved.
Yeah, that's my hope. I'm hoping that the way you see it is the way a lot of people see it. In fact, I have to commend you because when we first met, I was just, I think you may remember, I was so impressed by the way you reached out and we connected. It was so positive. It was not pushy. It was not salesy. I mean, I felt like, well, this is a cool person. I want to go learn more about Katie and her work. And I've done that now. And now we're on each other's podcast. That's really just evidence that we've got to stop selling. We got to start serving. It doesn't mean that you won't ask people to come and get value from you. It just means understand that it's like a 20-80. Just maybe 10-20% of direct selling and then 80% of just human connection and helpfulness.
Absolutely. And it's true, when I did reach out to you, I was so inspired by your podcast and the episodes I listened to, particularly with Alex B. Sheridan, that I also interviewed and follow quite closely. And so I thought, I have to make a good impression with this guy. First, I wrote a text, and then I thought, this is too much. I thought I'll probably overwhelm him. So I thought, I'll just do a quick video. But it's true. It's finding a way that when it feels authentic for you, it doesn't necessarily come across authentically just because people have so many messages every day on LinkedIn, so many things going on that the trust isn't always there. That's why I chose video. Sometimes I do vocal message, but people have to feel you're genuine. It's easier when you generally feel genuine. It's easier to come across authentically. To come back to the 3 R's that you mentioned in social velocity, I know that your software Velocity Jam actually helps with the last part on analytics. Maybe you want to say a few words around that.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, it helps with all 3 of them. But in fact, the funny thing is that analytics is the thing that is the thing that most of us want to deal with the least. I don't know how to say that. And the reason is because, analytics is data. I mean, it's not cool. It's just numbers, it's like, but it's the most important thing. And so, when we talk about relationships, reach and results, what we really mean is content marketing can feel very much like, oh, I'm just sharing a post, and you share another post. And before you know it, you're always sharing content, but you're not seeing any feedback from customers. You're not really getting any customers out of it. So how do you build relationships that turn that content into clients? There's actual strategies for doing that, okay? So that's the first thing that you learn and can implement through Velocity Jam. The next thing is reach. Now, LinkedIn, like YouTube or any other social platform, has an algorithm that is looking to see what posts are popular and what posts are not. So when you join a group or when you share a post and you get a lot of people that you know to interact with you, or they just do so within a certain time period, a certain number of them, the algorithm will pick that up and share your post even further. It's just the way it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how they're built. So we have to learn how to make sure that every time we put out a post, people see it. So that's another thing that the software helps you do if you actually use it that way. Then the last thing, which I find to be the most important thing, is, okay, so now you know how to share content and get more reach. You also know how to, if you get reach, engage with people and sort of win them over to have a conversation, right? Without being pushy. You know how to do that. But now, how do you know how to really get dialed in to the perfect content that does that on a consistent basis. So you have a clockwork kind of a business. So you just know what to do all the time because that's what works. The way you do that is you look at the analytics of your content, right, to see what's working and what's not. You're going to find that some posts are doing so much better than other posts. Why? Well, that has to do with your strategy, your audience, the content, all those things. And so you study those, and eventually you come up with, okay, these are the things I need to do. Here's how much I need to do it. And when I do that, I know I'm going to get this result. You know, it's like the bees. I don't know if you've heard about the honeybees. And actually, this is a story I tell in this book. Honeybees have a process whereby they will fly out and they will look for, nectar. When one honeybee finds nectar, it will come back to the hive, right, and do a dance. And that dance is called a waggle dance. Google it and you'll see what I mean. The waggle dance is a powerful scientific freak of nature. What they do is they dance with a certain frequency, a certain sort of movement, and that tells everyone how far away the nectar is. And then they'll dance in a specific direction related to the sun, and that'll tell them exactly in which direction the nectar is. You know what that is? Velocity. They are dancing a dance that communicates the velocity and the location of the nectar. All the other bees, now, once they watch that dance for a while, they all go back to the nectar source and they bring it back, and it perpetuates the survival of the hive. This is nature. This is nature showing us exactly how we need to use data to learn what works and what doesn't. Apple, the biggest company in the world in some ways, only became successful when they started using data and analytics, big data, to understand the behavioral economics of their customers, what was happening. A lot of people think Apple is successful because they build the best products and they're the smartest people and they think different. No, the reason they're successful is because they joined Google and Microsoft and other companies in using big data to understand what's working and what's not. So when they build a computer that we call a trash can, ooh, it doesn't work in the market. They yank it out and build another computer that doesn't have a trash can look, and so on and so forth. So we have to do that with our content. Put your content out there. Put it out there. Keep sending out those bees. And then when the bees come back, the content will come back and tell you, this is good. This is not good. Now do more of what's good and you will get better content and client results. That's it. That's why analytics is the most powerful part. And that's why I call it the results piece. The results you get from your content will help you improve your reach and your relationships and converting content into clients.
I love the analogy with the bee. I feel I should know this with my random focus bee. I'm going to take this, the bee dance.
We're on the focus, the focus bee thing. So you should, yeah, check that story out. Actually, you would love that because this is your analogy too. Bees.
Amazing. Pelè, I can't believe, Dr. Pelè, sorry, that we're already coming to the end of the podcast. You have shared so many insightful things, from your profitable happiness perspective to social velocity and velocity jam. And you're clearly, 1,000,000% aligned with this, which is always really, really wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was a real privilege and honor. And thank you for all your insight. I'm still seeing the image of the bee dancing in my head.
You are very welcome. Thank you. And by the way, if anyone is interested in learning more about social velocity or my work or my software, there are two places. One is drpelè.com, drpele.com. And the second place is velocityjam.com, which is the software itself. And just show up and I will be helpful. That's my goal, always.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pelè. I will put these in the show notes for all the people listening. And thank you once more for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Katie.